Hello. I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. Sorry, I'm fixing my microphone. I am down here in Tennessee at my parents' house, and I still have to fix my microphone. Sorry. I thought I had it all correct. And, they get the newspaper. So I thought maybe we could take a look at it just for fun. And I'll tell you what, it's getting thinner and thinner. There's hardly anything to look at, but we'll see. I'm wearing a ring that my mom made, and like a long time ago, she made it. And unfortunately, there's something like, I tried to polish it, and maybe it made it worse. There's like a spot there, but isn't that cool? I wish I made jewelry. I need to learn how to make jewelry. Anyway, this is the Knoxville News Sentinel, and it's for April 4th, Saturday, which is today. So I thought we could just take a look at it, see what the headlines are and everything. It says Trump seeks more military spending. And there's a picture of the United States Capitol building. My son and his girlfriend were there. I don't know, yesterday, the day before, they sent a picture in front, and they were like, The budget request ultimately requires approval by Congress, where disagreement over President Donald Trump's spending decisions recently led to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. By the way, this newspaper is part of the USA Today network. So if you're familiar with the newspaper USA Today, that's who prints this. Budget calls for 10% cut to other federal programs. President Donald Trump on April 3rd requested a 10% cut in non-defense discretionary spending for the 2027 fiscal year, and a massive $500 billion increase in defense spending. Now, some of you may recall, we did a video on the big, beautiful bill, and we have already added a lot of money. Well, partially to defense, but then the other part was to ICE and immigration. A lot of money. So you can go back and look, because I don't remember numbers, but it was quite a bit. So this would be on top of that added money. Sorry, my mouth is like blah, blah, blah. The 2027 budget request comes as the president faces risky choices abroad, with the administration sending U.S. service members to the Middle East and a public at home feeling the economic crunch of skyrocketing gas prices due to the conflict. In a recent video, people were saying how much they're paying for gas. And that was a couple weeks ago, and people were already above $5. So I don't know. Oh, it was in that one. We made a video about oil, barrels of oil. So the request ultimately requires approval by Congress, where disagreements over Trump's spending decisions recently led to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The president's budget also reflects the administration's political priorities ahead of the 2026 midterm elections in November, when his fellow Republicans helped to maintain their small majorities in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. The huge proposed surge in defense spending to $1.5 trillion, up from $1 trillion in 2026, includes a 5 to 7% pay raise for military personnel at a time when thousands of service members are actively deployed. The military spending request will please defense hawks on Capitol Hill, but it also highlights how Trump is trying to pay for his double down on military pursuits, even after Republicans boosted defense spending last year in party line legislation. All right, well, that's all the front page part of that. A golden ticket for a golden arm. So this is about Tennessee, University of Tennessee, Lady Vols. They take up most of the local newspaper, not Lady Vols, but just anything to do with college sports is half of the newspaper every day. Ranger, I heard about this. Rangers, visitors should be prepared. Smokies have dealt with significant emergencies. After a high number of emergency incidents and even a fatal fall off a cliff, Great Smoky Mountains National Park is warning visitors to always properly plan and prepare. You know, we hike a lot, my family, and I have seen some crazy stuff. People doing things, first of all, they're not prepared to do or not physically shouldn't be doing, they're not able. But also just people doing stupid stuff to take like selfies and makes me crazy. It makes me uncomfortable, because I don't want to see somebody fall. Let's see, 80 degrees today, but then tomorrow, Easter Sunday, 66, 64. This is always a good part of the newspaper, this Today in History. So they say today is Saturday, April 4th, the 94th day of 2026. There are 271 days left in the year. On this date in 1818, Congress revised the rules of the U.S. flag under the Flag Act of 1818 to 13 horizontal stripes for the colonies and number of stars match the current number of states. So at that time, the flag had 13 red and white stripes and 20 stars. Cool, right? 1850, Los Angeles incorporated as a U.S. city. California would join the Union 5 months later. This was the one I found interesting. I might have to look in and do a video. 1887. Listen to this. Oh my God, there's a ant crawling on the phone, and he just crawled over the camera. Did you see that on the video? Come here, ant. Where'd he go? There is no getting rid of ants in Tennessee. Here he is. See him crawling? He's a little teeny tiny guy. I don't want to kill him on camera. Okay, you. Take a hike. All right, anyway. All right, 1887. Susan Salter was elected as mayor of Argonia, Kansas, becoming the first woman to hold that position. Okay. While her name was initially put on the ballot as a stunt by a group of men hoping to discourage women from political discourse, she won the election by a 2/3 majority. So I actually looked this up because I was like, wait, what is this story? And Susan, was a Quaker, and I think her dad had previously been mayor, so she was kind of known. But this group of men who didn't think women should be in politics, out of nowhere, I don't even know why exactly, but as a stunt, as a joke, wrote her name in as a candidate the day of the election. And she knew nothing about it. So the Women's League of Voters, or whatever they were called in that area, went to her house and said, hey, if we get our people to vote for you, will you, do it? Will you hold office? And she said, sure, no problem. So they convinced all the women in their League of Voters to vote for her. And then the Republican member, whatever party guy, went to her house and said, if I get my people to vote for you, because I guess she was a Republican, will you hold office? And she said, yeah, sure. And so he got all his people. So she ended up winning by 2/3 over all the other candidates. It was kind of a fun story. And she was pretty uneventful, actually. And she only held the office for a year, and then, or her term, whatever her term was. And then she never held office again. But it became like national news. And of course, that brought up, like, can women with their teeny tiny brains actually do this? And so it was kind of interesting. But All right, 1928. Maya Angelou was born in St. Louis, Missouri, a woman of many talents, poet, memoirist, I feel like I'm saying that wrong, civil rights activist, and actress. Angelou was best known for exploring the themes of race, oppression, and economic disparities. In 1933, the USS Akron, a helium-fueled dirigible of the U.S. Navy, crashed off the coast of New Jersey during a thunderstorm, killing 73 crew members and passengers. It was the deadliest airship disaster in U.S. history. I was like, wait, what? Because, I did that video a few weeks ago on the Hindenburg, and that crashed in New Jersey also. Did I bring this up? Like, was that in my notes? Because I was like, if I knew this, I don't remember knowing this. That there was another blimp that crashed and was the deadliest airship disaster in U.S. history. What? Somebody tell me if I talked about it, because I don't remember. Anyway, whatever, I may have to look it up. 1945, the U.S. Army's 4th Armored Division and 89th Infantry Division liberated Ohrdruf concentration camp in Germany. It was the first such camp to be liberated by the U.S. Army. We should do a video on the liberation of the concentration camps, actually, because it's kind of interesting, because the Russians were coming from kind of one direction. I don't know for sure, but this is how I think it. And the U.S. military was coming from the other, and they were liberating camps. So, anyway, Trump slams loser Springsteen after singer's criticism at concert. Trump says Springsteen has Trump derangement syndrome. Okay. He said, truthed out bad and very boring singer Bruce Springsteen, who looks like a dried up prune, who has suffered greatly from the work of a really bad plastic surgeon, has long had a horrible and incurable case of Trump derangement syndrome, Trump 79 wrote. Okay. Megan Thee Stallion will return to Broadway after recovery. Yeah, she's in Chicago on Broadway, and she, ended up like dehydrated or something. I think went to the emergency room. Why you can buy beer but not wine on Easter in Tennessee. Okay, it's a legal technicality that allows beer to be sold on Easter in Tennessee. In the Tennessee Code, alcoholic beverages are defined to include alcohol, spirits, liquor, wine, high alcohol content beer, and every liquid containing alcohol, spirits, wine, Beer is a separate term in legal jargon that constitutes a product made from the normal alcoholic fermentation of malt and other cereal grains. It cannot have more than 8% alcohol. I still don't know if I understand, but okay. So it's a technicality. Immigrant activist Alejandro Guizar, maybe Lozano, to be deported. Nearly 6 months after his arrest at a check-in with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers, ICE, that's what that is, Knoxville immigrant activist Alejandro, I wish I knew how to say Guizar Lozano, has received removal orders, which means he almost certainly will leave an ICE detention facility and be deported to Mexico. He is an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who has lived in the U.S. since he was 12. He has been held in Louisiana federal detention facility since his October 15th arrest. He was detained when he showed up for a random drug test in Smith County, where he was previously charged with a drug offense. His attorneys have argued that his arrest was retaliatory because of his work as an advocate for immigration here. For years, he worked on immigrant rights group in Knoxville, including Allies of the Knoxville Immigrant Neighborhoods. Okay. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. Court ruling keeps churches from endorsing political candidates. Well, that seems good. The Internal Revenue Service will maintain a policy barring pastors and churches from endorsing political candidates following a surprise ruling in a high-stakes court battle. Oh, I was thinking they meant give money to them. Endorsing. I don't know. In a March 31st opinion, I'm surprised. I mean, they have freedom of speech. What are they getting at here? Okay, in a March 31st, Judge J. Campbell Barker in the U.S. District Court for Eastern District of Texas dismissed a lawsuit filed by the National Religious Broadcasters and others that challenged an IRS rule known as Johnson Amendment. Yeah, this is IRS. Wait, is it giving money or endorsing? The Johnson Amendment was introduced by former President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1954. It bans all tax-exempt organizations like churches and charities from directly or indirectly participating in politics, specifically an endorsement or opposition of a candidate. Yeah, okay. So somebody could give a lot of money to one of these tax-exempt things, take the tax write-off. They're exempt, but then they could use it to just push a candidate. Okay. Yep, I see a conflict of interest there. But I mean, forever in the South, if you listen to like AM radio, there are all these church radios that also dip into politics a lot. So it's not unusual or anything. Same thing like the Pope has things to say sometimes about. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. I'd have to read that whole article. Look right here. Pope emerges as appointed critic of Trump's policies. Pope Leo last May became the first U.S.-born leader of the global Catholic Church. Okay. For the first 10 months of his tenure, he mostly avoided comment about his home country and never once mentioned President Donald Trump publicly. That era has come to an end. In recent weeks, the Pope has emerged as a sharp critic of the Iran war. He named Trump for the first time publicly on March 31st in a direct appeal, urging the president to end the expanding conflict. Okay. It is a significant shift in tone and approach that experts say indicate that the Pope wanted to serve as counterweight on the world stage. Where do they have what he actually said? Like, why don't they just tell us what Leo said? They don't tell you. Like, just tell me what, because, sometimes people make stuff. I don't know. Tennessee ranks among the top states for movers. Okay. So the states that picked up new people: Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Oklahoma, Arkansas. And states that have people move away: Washington, Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Illinois, Massachusetts, New York, and California. What attracted so many movers? Tennessee's appeal was driven not just by its tax-friendly environment, but by the economic momentum felt within the Nashville area. Nashville's getting really crazy. Nashville's so busy. Fueled by corporate investments by large companies such as Oracle and Amazon. According to the study, Tennessee's migration surge reflects a pattern seen in Austin, Texas, a convergence of job growth, cultural appeal, and investor confidence. Nashville's three-pillar foundation: healthcare, technology, and logistics. So I guess they're all moving to Nashville. Some in towns, Indianapolis, Indiana. Some Indiana towns get brown tap water. Ew, gross. Rural systems in need of funds to make upgrades. The problem began at bath time. Brittany Hobbs was adding water to the tub of her 8-year-old son, Crew. That's an interesting name, K-R-U. Last November to warm up the bath in their home about 35 miles northwest of Indianapolis in rural Lapel, Indiana. Crew had been playing with his toys as the water cooled and slowly drained from the tub. Hobbs turned the taps back on for a few minutes while she readied Crew's towel and lotion. P.S. You should be careful with that, because if you put hot water into a tub when a kid's in there, if your hot water is turned up too hot, it can burn the child. So do be careful with running water while you're not in the room. As she turned back toward the tub, she panicked. The water had turned blood red. Oh no. Thinking Crew was hurt, Hobbs pulled him from the tub and asked him where he was cut, but he had no injuries. Gross. I looked to the right at the faucet, and it looked like a mix of dirt and blood coming from it, so I just dried him off and hoped for the best. And that was the last straw for me. Ew. So anyway, they're looking at the water infrastructure in the area. Gross, gross, gross. Yeah. Clean water should be a basic thing in the United States. Good grief. Grads find challenging job market. I think the job numbers were up last month, so I don't know. But yeah, I think that's more for their different types of jobs, I guess. Anyway, two U.S. fighter jets downed over Iran. Yeah. Search continues for one missing crew member. Yeah, that's bad. Crew maneuvers Orion out of Earth's orbit. The Artemis II mission, which launched April 1st from Kennedy Space Center in Florida, got the green light to begin its lunar journey after a day of orbiting high above the Earth. There's like a live stream you can watch and you can see, but when I went on it, you couldn't really see anything, but maybe you can now. I should go check it out again. That's pretty exciting. Kennedy takes action on microplastics and PFAS. Here's something I could get behind, getting rid of microplastics. The Department of Health and Human Services and Environmental Protection Agency announced April 2nd that the Trump administration is cracking down on contaminants in the nation's drinking water, which includes taking a closer look at microplastics. For the first time, microplastics and pharmaceuticals will be added to the EPA's contaminant list. Can you believe they weren't on there already? Like what? Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says we do not have clear answers about causation or solution, nor do we have validated methods to remove them safely. Well, hopefully they'll figure it out because, yeah. Experts fear wicked wildfire season. Yeah. And my dad wanted to have a fire at his farm. I'm like, no, we better not because it's dry. Skirmish over replacing Bondi looming in the Senate. Yeah, they fired Pam Bondi. So the Senate will have to approve a new hire. Poultry could help land under panels. What? New York farmer will test vision for clearing solar fields. Caleb Scott is greeted by pigs at a solar field in Lansing, New York. Scott, after several failed attempts at mowing land beneath solar panels, brought in his pigs and sheep to do the job. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think goats do a good job of that too. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Army's top officer steps down at Hegseth's request. I can't believe how many officers they have gotten rid of. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth asked General Randy George, the U.S. Army's top officer, to step down from his position and immediately retire, according to a Pentagon official. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell confirmed George's immediate retirement on X without giving a cause. The Pentagon is grateful for General George's decades of service to our nation. We wish him well with his retirement. There had been no public signs of friction between Hegseth and George, even as Hegseth pursued controversial moves such as firing the Army's top lawyer and arranging a massive military parade to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday, which coincided with Trump's birthday. CBS News, which first reported the dismissal, said it was not related to Hegseth's decision to shut down an Army investigation into helicopter pilots who flew by the home of pro-Trump musician Kid Rock. That was so stupid. I mean, what are we doing? Come on. George's ouster adds to a recent upheaval at all levels of leadership at the Pentagon, including the firing in late 2025 of previous chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Air Force General C.Q. Brown, as well as the Chief of Naval Operations and the Air Force Vice Chief of Staff. In all, Hegseth has fired numerous senior military officers and generals, many of them female or black, leading some critics to question whether their race or gender contributed to their firings. The New York Times reported in late March that he had blocked the promotion of 2 black and 2 female Army officers to be one-star generals. He also fired several of his own senior advisors in 2025, accusing them of leaking information to the media. Wow. Trump proposes to begin privatizing TSA screening. President Trump on April 3rd proposed to begin privatizing airport security operations handled by the Transportation Security Administration in an effort to save money. Well, all right. That's it. That's all the news that we have to report.